increased fighting along the Cambodia border has prompted Thailand to declare martial law in 2 provinces. This as a second day of border clashes is underway, the violence forcing more than 130,000 people to flee their homes and killing more than a dozen people. The Thai military is calling for Cambodia to return to the negotiating table as a friendly nation. Tensions between the Southeast Asian neighbours have been boiling for months over disputed sections of the 800-kilometre land border, which is home to several religious sites both countries claim. Those sites largely mapped out by France when it ruled Cambodia. This is what Cambodian officials have to say about the recent fighting.
Thailand's attacks are aimed at taking Cambodian land, which is another reason I think the international community, as well as the International Court of Justice, can clearly see the purpose of the royal government of Cambodia in bringing this case to the court to solve. So surely Cambodia will come out ahead in this case.
Well, time now for the exchange. Joining me is Andrejka Natalegawa, an Associate Fellow for the Southeast Asia Program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C. Great to have you with us. It's an important time. I mean, I want to talk about the current state of hostilities and the risk of further escalation. We are seeing calls to get back to the negotiating table. How would you describe the current state we're in?
Well, we're in very much a state of sort of tension as it relates to Thailand and Cambodia. There's a statement earlier today from the acting prime minister of Thailand saying that if developments continued as they currently are, this could lead to war. And so we're certainly at an unprecedented time, I think, in relations between the two countries. We've seen periodic spates of border disputes between the two. 2011 is a notable example, 2008 as well. But this time around, as I understand it, this is the sort of most violent conflict between 2 Southeast Asian nations in at least a decade. And so it's very much in flux, the situation, and it's something that we're monitoring quite closely.
Yeah, I want to take a step back here because I want you to explain this long-running dispute, which dates back, frankly, more than 100 years when the borders were drawn by France during the occupation of Cambodia. And it kind of brings the issue of the legacy of colonization, of borders being drawn in places where it doesn't work for the people on the ground. Having that knowledge and knowing that this is a legacy issue, what is your sense of the two countries coming together and looking at the religious sites that are in dispute, the border that is in dispute, and finding a solution?
Right, and as you've noted, this has been a long-standing issue between Cambodia and Thailand in their bilateral relations, owing to sort of the roots of the conflict, given the map that was drawn in, I believe, 1907, that was vague as it relates to some of the sites that are in contention right now. And throughout the decades, we've seen tensions flare up between the two sides. In the 1960s, I believe the International Court of Justice intervened in the issue. 2008 was also a landmark year when Cambodia attempted to register some of the temple sites as UNESCO World Heritage locations, leading to, again, an outbreak of border skirmishes between the two sides. And so, you know, this has been a long-running conflict that tends to flare up periodically between the two sides. What I think is valuable here to recognize is that for the past few decades, both Thailand and Cambodia have been member states of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, the sort of regional organization that, you know, I think at its very core is intended to build trust and confidence and personal rapport between the countries in Southeast Asia. And so when I'm looking at this current crisis, I see it in some ways as a litmus test for this organization, right? Is it able to bring Cambodia and Thailand together to find an amicable resolution for this crisis?
And what it means regionally, we know that Beijing is watching very closely. You spoke about the ASEAN group as well. Give me a sense of how regionally the impact is going to play out.
Right. And so if you look at the regional response thus far, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim of Malaysia, who is also concurrently serving as the chair of ASEAN this year, has already contacted his counterparts in both Thailand and Malaysia. And my sense is that he will continue to try to play an active role in mediating the crisis. When you look across the region, other similar regional responses, countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, have issued statements through their respective ministries of foreign affairs expressing their concern about the crisis. What I think here is interesting is Indonesia's role. If you look back at 2011, during the crisis at the time, Indonesia was the ASEAN chair and played a very active role in mediating the peaceful resolution of that crisis, involving monitors, sort of fact-finding efforts as well, and fact-finding efforts being particularly valuable here, given that the two sides in this conflict, Thailand and Cambodia, each have quite differing accounts of what happened on the ground on July 24th. So that the importance of the role of independent, impartial fact-finding is of critical, that can't be understated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because they are currently in a blame game, finger-pointing cycle. So you need a mediator to step in to try and sort of, get them to see eye to eye at some point. The Thai Prime Minister had warned that this could lead to war. And more importantly, this news just coming in, that the Thai army is saying it will consider using cluster munitions as necessary against military targets. You've got over 100,000 people that are currently being displaced. These are hallmarks of things potentially getting worse. How are you analyzing sort of the appetites at this point to get both parties at the table while we're seeing sort of threats of cluster munitions being in play?
I think the most important thing to emphasize at this point in time is that war is something that neither of these countries can afford at this point in time. And so every effort must be made to bring the crisis to a peaceful resolution. We've seen statements over the past 24 hours regarding potential escalations in conflict. What I think I'd emphasize here is that when you look back at the drivers of this current spate of violence, you can look back at the May 28th incidents, that shooting that resulted in the death of one Cambodian soldier. You can look back at the landmine incident that occurred earlier this week that resulted in the injury of 5 Thai soldiers. Throughout this period of time, there's also been that sort of overlay of domestic politics within each country that have complicated matters in terms of how each government is approaching the issue. Again, I'd emphasize at this point that war and sort of an escalation of conflict at this time would be unthinkable for not even each country, but also for the region. And so it's incumbent on other partners in the region, including Malaysia, to really step forward and try to bring this to a peaceful close.
Yeah. So war serves no one. So I thank you so much for your insights. Great to have you with us, Andreka Natalagawa.